best methodology I can give you for reflection has been and always been in my life a journal. And if you get a chance to journal, and it is a powerful thing. And I have a very simple formula I've used for journaling for years. What I did, what I thought, how I felt. What I did, what I thought, how I felt. I just write it down for a day, what I did this day. What I thought, thoughts that came to my mind, and how I felt. Sometimes things that are really poignant, I'll highlight. In fact, I just did this exercise with a friend of mine. He's a consultant, and we've been working together for about a year and a half. So I had kept detailed notes and in a journal. And one of the things that Jim Rohn taught me is that when you really want to take good notes, buy a really nice journal. So I bought this beautiful leather-bound journal that I can get refills inside for it. And, we were able to review this person's consulting with me for the past 18 months. And I had better notes than he did. And it was able to show how valuable it is and how important it is. One of the things I'm always encouraging our coaches to do is reflect with our clients, because it's very easy when you're focused on the next problem and the next challenge. The coaches get lost in it. The clients get lost in it. How far somebody's come. And it's amazing when you reflect. Oh my gosh, you see, wow, a year ago I was there. We've no context of it, right? Sometimes it's like you did something last week and it felt like it was a month or 2 months ago. So reflection is important. So in reflection, we want to remember. The best way to remember, write it down in a journal. Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said, writing is another powerful way to sharpen the mental saw. Keeping a journal of our thoughts, experiences, insights, and learnings promotes mental clarity, exactness, and context. Brilliant, brilliant quote. George Santayana said, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. And Cicero said, memory is the treasure and guardian of all things. So taking the time to remember, very powerful. In a fast-paced world, in a techno, social media, media-driven world, there's no time to reflect. It's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, and it bombards us. Boom, 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 boom. So this is to take a little time. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. So the second aspect of reflection is you want to remember first, then you want to review. This is how you get better, right? So I looked at this last year and a half of consulting with this individual, and I saw where, on one hand, I got better, but I also saw how the process could be a little better too. So we review. And what are we going to review? We're going to review goals versus results. Have you done that review? On a personal level, Zig Ziglar used to call it a checkup from a neck up. You know, the checkup from the neck up was, hey, how am I doing? And one of the ways you do that is you journal. And you read your journals back. One of the things you could review is, for example, your actual activities versus your stated daily routine. Like, here's what I said my routine's going to be. What are my activities? Oh, people tell me, business is down. I go, okay. Now, I know when somebody tells me that, there's a good chance, A, there could have been a change in the market, but B, their daily activities in lead generation probably changed. Their marketing changed. Their emphasis on sales changed. That's why business is down. And so, by the way, that often happens when we get real busy, right? So we got to review. Lord Kelvin says, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. He invented the Kelvin scale. The Danish theologian Soren Kierkegaard, I've quoted him many times, says life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. That is so, so profound. Life can only be understood backwards. When we reflect and review, especially with a journal, especially with what's happened, that makes more sense to me now. Then you take that information to live forward, right? That's what that's all about. Robert Greene said, you were born with the greatest weapon in all nature, the rational, conscious mind. So we got to use it. And the third aspect here of reflection, after we remember and review, is taking time to think. Now, I'll speak autobiographically to this. This has been the biggest win for me in this particular calendar year. I've had a very busy schedule most of my adult life. I'm a very busy guy. I'm a driven guy. I like to be busy. But what I noticed was this constant sense of overwhelm. And I couldn't get my arms around it. And it's like, well, things are always going to come. I have a busy life. I have a big business. I do podcasts. I do events all over the world. I have hundreds of employees. I've got a big family. I got very active stuff going on, and daughter trying to go to the Olympics, and son's doing this, and daughter's doing that, and going to games, and I just have a busy life. I have a lot of stuff going on, like everyone does. And what I realized was I didn't have in my schedule time to think. And that's the third aspect of reflection. And taking time to think. And I actually started putting it in my schedule. Oh, by the way, you may have noticed that in the last few months, the podcast's really been good. I'm getting a lot of letters, getting a lot of emails, getting a lot of feedback. My staff, when I come out of the recording studio, are like, man, that was awesome. Many of my clients write me notes and letters and emails, lots of reviews about the podcast. Well, I can tell you the best thing that's happened to the podcast is that I've been taking more and more time to think and more time to reflect. And oh, by the way, we used to do 2 podcasts a week. So I realized when I was doing 2 a week, they weren't hitting it for me and they weren't hitting it for the audience the way I wanted. So I took more time. And so guess what? The commitment is to do 1 absolutely superstar episode a week rather than 2 that are pretty good. And so then I found that people enjoy it more. They're getting more out of it. People who want more of it are listening to it more than once, or they go back then into the library of the hundreds of other episodes we have. But I've started taking time to think. It's amazing when you do that. Nelson Mandela said thinking is one of the most important weapons in dealing with problems. Norman Vincent Peale says, change your thoughts and change your world. I was too busy to change my thoughts. How about you? Thanks for watching. If you want more tips on how to think, feel, and do better, check out these videos too. Oh, by the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave us a like if you enjoyed the content.